Today's top 5 is brought to you in association with Kit Kat. Good. Right. Welcome to Faith and. This is our Christian podcast for and with young people exploring faith and what that looks like in real life, how we are supposed to live out God's word and what God is saying to us week by week on a Saturday morning. I'm Andy and this is
Ruth.
And we've been doing this now for almost 30 episodes.
Or is it more than that because we can't count?
Exactly. I mean, we had cake a couple of weeks back, which was nice.
It was good.
Yeah, it was.
Good
Enjoyed the cake. We will have that at 50 episodes. So I'm going to get the count, get the date.
Okay.
And exactly on the day we will have a golden cake.
Wow.
I mean, you're making it, so. Ruth will be making a golden cake for the episode.
I mean, there's part of me that goes, absolutely not. You can't just give that to me. And there's part of me that goes, a golden cake? How would I do that?
Exactly.
Challenge accepted.
So we'll work it out.
We've got Christmas before that, though. Christmas presents.
So excited for my Crocs.
You know it. There has been the promise of Crocs for so long on this. You really think you're getting out of this?
Well, we'll see. We'll
Crocs
see what
are
happens. So yes, there we go. But other than that, have you had a good week?
Had a very good week. I still feel very strange about everything going on.
Yep.
The madness of coronavirus that still is. And in March, we thought it would last 3 weeks. We thought by Easter at the latest,
I know,
it would all be over. You know, we'd have the Easter holidays and it would all be fine again. And now it's November.
Have you done any Christmas shopping yet?
I've got a list of presents that I could buy for people. So the honest answer is no.
Yeah, I haven't done any.
Are you a kind of Christmas Eve type?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Okay. I have spreadsheets.
I bet you. Yeah, actually, I've seen his spreadsheets, colour-coded and everything, not for Christmas presents. But...
So, because of the amount of people I have to buy for,
yeah,
and the amount of gifts I have to buy for each one,
yeah.
So having 4 kids, and you've got to spend the same amount, and you need to know what you're buying them and things. I have a spreadsheet, and it goes from yellow to potential. Right. To green bought.
Yes, okay.
And it has a sum of money of how much I've spent on each one and things like this. It goes up and down depending on... So yes, spreadsheets all the way.
I mean, I feel like that's overly organised. Has the spreadsheet... When does the spreadsheet start? In the year? When do you make it?
Around the first week of November.
Okay.
Because that's when kids sort of lock in what they want for Christmas.
Really? I think they're...
Changing
their mind.
Well, because it depends what...
Right up until?
No, because once they've sort of said... November time, all the campaigns for Lego, all the campaigns for the big toys are out, so they know what they want.
Kids. I don't know these things.
So come mid-November, we can start buying securely on what we've got.
Yeah, and they won't change their mind and go, no. I don't want that anymore.
And yeah, I mean, my oldest 2 sort of buy their own stuff. We just sort of give them their own and say, tell us what you want. We'll get it. So yeah, and then we wrap it up by about the 15th of December. We're done.
That's impressive.
Organisational skills on point.
Let's all learn from Andy this year.
What would Andy do?
Let's make wristbands.
Start a new campaign. WWAD.
What would Andy do?
Make a spreadsheet.
I'm not sure they're words to live by, if I'm honest.
No, but for spreadsheets.
For spreadsheets, yeah.
Anyway, there you go. So, strange thing happened to me last night. So, honestly, this is true.
Where is this going?
Well, you didn't ask me how my week was, so I just jumped in.
Andy, how was your week?
It was really good. A strange thing happened to me last night.
Oh, what was that?
So, we were on detached youth work.
Yeah.
Me and this other guy wandering around the town, as we do, and approached the local theatre. And outside of this theatre, 2 girls, using the bright fluorescent lighting, just sat there with their phones singing. So I said... What are you guys doing? Because I knew them. Okay. And they said, oh, we're just singing. Okay.
Were they recording it as well? Or?
Facebook Live.
Wow.
Facebook Live. But they were using the lighting from the theatre, advertising to illuminate themselves. They had one phone with the karaoke.
Yeah.
And they were singing along. About 23 people were watching them, apparently. And I interrupted the show.
I mean, you're famous now.
Well, I mean, next week I'm going to try and get on the show and sing sort of 1.5 meters behind them.
I think you should.
Yeah. There you go.
I didn't know that was a thing young people did. I call myself a youth worker.
I didn't know until last night it was a thing. So there you go.
If you do Facebook Lives, let us know.
Let us know, and yeah, I mean, maybe I'll watch it.
We might.
Maybe we'll be on it if you'll invite us. I said invite really weirdly. Invite us. Anyway.
Should we move on to our top 5?
I think we should. I think that's enough rambling. We've had a good week. Hope you have as well. Let's get into our top 5.
That was a little bit weird as well.
Top 5 time, baby. So, Ruth, I imagine, just from the bit I know you, that you spent a lot of time as a young person playing board games with your family.
Oh, with my friends, actually.
Oh, with your friends,
Yeah.
okay. My friends played football a lot. We went out on bikes. We did exciting stuff.
We didn't.
My family weren't really campers or stuff like that, so we didn't really do board games. Video games were more my thing. So, this is for you, Ruth. I want to know your top 5 board games.
Okay, so there's...
And Dobble is not a board game.
Okay.
I'm going to say this.
No, okay, so there's a few things we need to get out of the way here then.
Okay.
Do all card games, if it doesn't have a board, does that mean it's not a board game?
Well, yeah. Top Trumps.
Well, yeah.
Top Trumps, not a board game.
No, but...
Dobble, not a board game.
I mean, I would argue with Double, but... Uno?
Not a board game, it's a card game.
Bananagram.
Don't even know that game. Boggle. It's a board game. It's spelling.
Boggle's not a board game.
Right, there you go then. Well done. Argument's done.
You can't... If you're having that argument...
Anyway, just give us your top 5 and we'll see how we feel at the end of this.
Not Scrabble.
Correct. That is the correct answer.
Yeah. So we're done. That's it. I like Monopoly, but not on a regular basis.
Yeah. Christmas?
Yeah, mate. We used to play it with my grandma. So it was a grandma game, really.
Yeah, my sister loves a game of Monopoly. She's got like 50 sets.
You've got to have like 3 days to play it over, though, because it goes on forever, doesn't it?
Yes. I mean,
Good.
yes.
Okay. Other board games. All I can think of is card games now, or games that don't have boards.
Pictionary? Game of Life?
Pictionary?
Yeah, that's a board game.
How's that a board game?
You roll the dice, you move around the board.
Pictionary?
Yeah.
Is that not just where you draw the... He's about to find it. Okay, it's a board game.
I would get the board out, it's just there, which is why I could say it. But you have a board and you go round and what you land on. It's like Trivial Pursuit as a board game.
Trivial Pursuit? Yes. I'm rubbish at it.
Mousetrap?
Yes.
Hungry Hippos? That's not a board game.
Well, there is sort of there's a kind of...
Buckaroo?
Not a fan of Buckaroo.
Go on, it's your top 5, not mine.
No, this is good. I need ideas. You know what I'm like. I sit here and go, I can only think of card games.
Cluedo? Buckaroo?
Oh, Cluedo's
Mousetrap,
good. Mousetrap's
Game
good.
of Life? Chess?
Not a big chess fan.
So you've got Monopoly so far.
And Mousetrap.
And Mousetrap.
And Cluedo.
And Cluedo, that's 3.
That's 3. We're doing well.
You've got 2 more to get.
I think the problem I'm having as well, so our youth group played quite a lot of board games growing up. We were that sad youth group that we played Ultimate Frisbee and board games.
Woohoo!
I know. But the board games we played were really quite obscure. Like...
Snakes and Ladders?
Yes, of course.
Is that on your list?
No.
That's number 4.
That's number 4. So I'm trying to think of like normal board games, but
yeah,
I'm struggling to do that.
Ludo, Parques, Park. That's quite cool. No, Sorry, Cop It.
I've never heard of these. Are you just making up words?
No, Cop It was like you a little thing and you ran round and you had to jump on people and make the biggest cop it possible.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Take your word for it.
For someone who didn't play many board games, I suddenly realised I know a lot of board games.
Loads of board games.
Yeah.
What else is there though?
Top Trumps? Not a board game.
That's not a board game.
Do you want to include Dobble so we can move on?
Yeah, because I like Dobble. I really like Dobble.
Okay.
I think it's an excellent game.
I'm going to let you have Dobble and Uno as one board game.
As one board game, okay, I'll take that. I play them both quite a lot.
Yeah, youth workers.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're quick, they're easy.
You can carry them around in a bag really easily.
Now, I don't know.
Because also I would put Pass the Pigs in there, but not a board game because it hasn't got a board.
Yeah. Did you know now that Uno have come out and said that stacking the +2 cards is against the rules?
What? Really?
Yep, it's official. It came out on the Uno Facebook
That you can't
stream.
stack +2s.
So if I put a +2 down
I can't
on you,
put a +2
you
to
can't.
give them +4.
No, you have to pick up 2 and miss your turn.
That is game changing.
Exactly. We've all been playing Uno wrong.
Have you played? Because they've come out with a second one, haven't they? That they've called DOS.
No, I haven't seen that. Is that Spanish? Do you think they'll come out with a third version and say tres?
I hope so.
Oh, no, dos y
I
tres.
just wanted to know if you played it because I haven't.
I haven't played it. I didn't even know it existed.
I think it does. Tell me if I'm wrong.
You're wrong.
You don't know if I'm wrong.
But you just said tell you, so...
I was talking to them, not to you.
Right, there we go. So, good top 5. Monopoly.
Yeah.
Double and Uno. You said it quickly. It sounds like a war game. Cluedo. Mousetrap.
Yeah.
And what was your last one? Trivial Pursuit.
Yeah.
There we go. Any other board games you like, stick them down below in the comments. Let us know.
I might start commenting on this one when I remember board game, or when I get home and can look at my board game shelf and go, oh yeah, why didn't I say that?
Yeah. I mean, I won't be doing that. I'll be honest. I don't have a board
I like
game
Ticket
shelf.
to Ride. That's the one I played most recently.
And that's the train one, isn't it? Yeah. Is it around San Diego or Australia?
There are lots of different ones. So
Okay.
yeah, I've got
There
the
you
Europe
go.
one.
Well done.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Let's move on. Hey! Right, let's jump into the Bible, into God's Word. And this week we are looking at Esther. So we are starting a new series for the next 4 weeks, of November about the unsung heroes of the Bible.
Yeah.
So when people talk about the heroes of the faith, you know, I say that like superhero man.
Yeah.
We always think of people like David, Abraham, you know.
And they're not to say they're not the heroes, because we can learn so much from them, can't we?
Definitely.
But there are so many people in the Bible that we just don't hear about and have really great stories and stuff that we can learn so much from. So we're going to explore some of them, aren't we?
Yeah, so we are looking at one of the more obscure person.
Although, saying she's more obscure, she's got a whole book in the Bible.
Exactly. So
some
this
of the
week,
characters we are looking at don't have that much in about them.
No, that's very true. But this particular one is one of only, I think, 2 women who have books after them in the Bible. I could be wrong in saying that.
2, I think.
I think it is 2. Thinking of Ruth and Esther.
Yeah.
And we are looking at Esther this week.
Because we thought looking at Ruth would be boring because you just sit and stare at me.
Sorry, I thought we were just sitting and staring at you for a moment. So yeah, we are looking at Esther this week. And we're not going to have the whole book because that would be quite a long reading.
It would take us a while. But for people who don't know anything about Esther, Andy, can you give us a 30-second overview of what happens in the story?
So, my understanding of the book of Esther is that there is a king who wants to have a new queen because his wife dies, and he likes the look of Esther. He says, I'll have her. Esther is then made queen, even though she doesn't really want to be queen.
Yeah.
Within that process, a priest called Mordecai, really cool name.
Good name.
Should be brought back more often. Mordecai, name your kids Mordecai in the future.
Baby Mordecai.
So Mordecai finds out that there is a conspiracy, against the king, and the king won't listen. So he tells Esther, the queen. She goes and tells him, and he still doesn't listen. And he goes out with the guys who are plotting against him and all of this. So Mordecai gets really upset, and he does the really good priestly thing, which is run outside of the city and rip his clothes and put on ashes and sackcloth because he was upset. And that's what priests did.
And that's a normal thing to do.
Yeah, and so then Esther finds out, and he says, why are you so upset? And he sends a message to her because he's not allowed in because, again, he's in sackcloth and ashes. And Esther plucks up the courage to go with what she knows and is true, and she goes to the king even though she's not supposed to, and she tells him again that this is going to happen, and the king listens this time. They find out the plot's true. They then kill all the people who are against them. The priest gets raised up and elevated, as does Esther, because they all listened to what they were going to do, and they lived happily ever after.
That is the correct ending to the story.
There you go.
They all lived happily ever after. I mean, I don't know if that's true, and knowing how many wars and stuff we read about in the Old Testament, there's probably some more fighting in their lives at some point.
Yeah, I mean, the last bit of Esther, chapter 10, doesn't say, and they lived happily ever after. It says they spoke up for the welfare of all the Jews.
Which is a good thing, but I can't imagine that was an easy ride.
But yes. But the point is that they were lifted up, they were elevated.
Yeah.
And all because Esther chose to follow what she believed and what she felt God was doing.
Right. Yeah.
You know. So there you go.
That was a little more than 30 seconds, but it was a good overview, so I'll let you have it.
Thanks.
So what's the verse we're looking at today? So we're going to cut this whole book down into 1 or 2 verses, what we're going to look at.
So the verse I think we should look at is in chapter 4, verse 16. And so this is where Mordecai, the priest, is upset, and he goes back to Esther and he says, do this. And Esther says, go and gather all the Jews who are in Susa and fast for me. Do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day. I will make my maids, and my maids will fast as you do. When this is done, I will go to the king, even though it is against the law. And if I perish, I perish. So Mordecai went away and carried out the instructions. And for me, this is the verse that sort of sums up Esther's life.
Yeah.
And it sums up why I think she's a hero in the Bible.
Yeah.
And what I think we can learn from her.
Yeah.
You see, Esther wasn't allowed to go into the king's, presence without being called.
Yeah, so this king and these royal families and kings and queens, they're not as you think of them today. So it's not it's not like the royal family today. They don't have the same rules and things like that. There are some really what we would see as bizarre and strange rules of queens not being able to be in the presence of the king or not at certain times and things like this. And there are things about having to dress in certain ways and do things at certain times and all of that sort of thing as well. Think Old Testament rather than royal family today. Yeah,
and so she wasn't allowed to go and approach the king. She wasn't supposed to, unless there was a certain number of days and these rules were all met and things like this. And yet, she knows that she has to.
Yeah.
She knows that there's a plot against the Jewish people and against the king.
Yeah.
And she wants to stop it. And so she says, I will go and do this. And she gets people to back her in prayer and in fasting. And she says, look, I'm going to do something. Can you look out for me?
Yeah.
And then she goes. And her final words are, if I perish, I perish.
Yeah, that's quite big, isn't it? If I perish, I perish. Like if I die, then I die.
Like she knew the ultimate cost of what she was doing was death.
That's a big risk to take, isn't it? That is a big sacrifice to protect some people that she wouldn't have known all of them by any stretch, would she? And
no.
And so actually to go, I'm going to go and do this thing which I know I'm not allowed to do.
Yeah.
And I know that I could die for this. Like that is the.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I could die, but actually, if that's the case,
well, so be it.
I know that I've done the right thing. So I'm going to do the right thing.
Exactly. And I think that's the biggest thing for me. That she stood up for what she knew, and she knew the end cost could have been that.
The courage in that is crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy. I wish I was as courageous as Esther, because, I mean, she's giving up her own life, or the possibility of it, certainly.
Exactly.
She probably thought that was going to happen. That was likely to happen.
And a lot of people look at Stephen in the Bible who spoke out for God and was ended up stoned and things like this, and they'll look at him and think, well, that was courage.
Yeah.
But here's Esther doing exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
And I think for me it's a recall. It's for me to go, what are you doing?
Yeah.
In the simple things in life, where are you standing up?
Yeah.
So are we standing up for injustice, social injustice that we see? Do we stand up for it even though we know it's right?
I mean, we live in the privileged position as well that if we stand up for something, the likelihood of us dying is
slim.
Fairly low, isn't it? Let's be honest. We're not going to die for something like that. If it's really serious and in the right position, then we might go to prison if we do it in the wrong way. But even that...
and these are the extreme cases.
Yeah.
But let's wind it back in.
Okay.
So when you're at work, when you're at school, and you see...
Well, when you're with your family and things as well.
When you see things that you know are wrong, do you go and say something? When you see the kid in the park picking on your mates, do you say something or do you just go, oh, let's just go?
Yeah.
Do you know what could happen?
Yeah.
And do you stand up?
Yeah, and what's your, if I perish, then let me perish. What's your perish? What's in your situation? Is it, oh, well, if the bully beats me up, then the bully beats me up? Or is it, if I get a detention, then I get a detention?
Yeah. And if you do believe in God and you have God in your life, well, what about if your mates start to say, oh, I don't believe in God, oh, God's rubbish, Christianity, you know, do you then go, well, actually, if I lose my mates, I lose my mates?
Yeah.
You know, but I will stand up for what I believe.
What's the worst case scenario for you standing up for what you know is the right thing to do?
And so for me, that's a challenge, because I look back at Esther and I go, she knew the ultimate was death, but she had that courage to walk through it.
Can you think of an example in your life when you needed courage, that you knew God was telling you to do something, but you found it hard to do the right thing, and you went, okay, well, the worst case scenario is this, and if this happens, then so be it?
I mean, I used to work in a pizza restaurant with a load of people who did not believe anything about God. And they all knew that I was going off to study theology and Bible college and things like this. And it was really hard for me to be in that environment and stand up for God.
Yeah.
Because they would knock God on the daily. It was, you know, day in and day out, swearing, blaspheming, you know, whatever you want to call it, they were doing it. And then there was me having to try and make a difference in that place. But I knew that that's where I was supposed to be. It wasn't just a job. I was supposed to be there. I was working there. And the day I left, they gave me, as a leaving present, £100 Bible.
Wow.
So they gave me back a Bible, knowing that I was going. Another guy left to go to university at the same time, and they gave him a box of like alcohol and chocolate.
Yeah.
But they gave me £100 Bible, and it was like I'd stood up for what I believed. I'd been open and honest, even though it was hard.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, it was like, you know, so yeah. I think courage in everyday life, just to stand up for, you know, and say, I believe in God, takes courage.
Yeah. Yeah. We live in a world that doesn't accept that very easily. That if you're in a nice little Christian circle and a Christian bubble, then it's great, and we go about our life and with God in that, and very central in that. But actually you kind of step out into the real world and people aren't often accepting of that. Or
definitely.
If they are, it's not that they want to know more necessarily, they'll just brush it off and move on. And so to stand up and say, this is what I believe, or actually I am going to church on Sunday, or I'm going to my youth group tonight, or whatever, takes a lot. But we know that that's something that we should be doing.
Yeah. So I think, you know, sort of to bring it back, I would challenge people who are watching, listening, you know, whether you're gathered as a family listening, whether you're just on your own, to think about where you need courage, and then to ask God to give you courage like he gave to Esther. You know, so you can face those things daily, weekly, monthly.
Do you think, and maybe I should have asked this at the beginning, but the question's only just come to me. What is courage? Is it just being able to do the things that are hard, or is there something more to it than that? And do you think courage that we find to, I don't know, do something we're scared of, maybe it's standing up on a stage and singing, or, you know, something like that, and courage from God to do something that we know God wants us to do you think there's a difference in those two courages?
Yeah, I think there is. I think it's nerve-wracking to stand in front of people and sing, but I think there are some people who are always nervous, but I know I've got the talent to do it, and I know I've got this to do it. Whereas courage to stand on God and in God is where I'm saying, I can't do this unless you go before me.
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference. It's knowing the difference between I can do this, I'm just a bit nervous.
Yeah.
To actually saying, this is going to cost me something.
Yeah.
I think that's the difference in the courages.
Yeah. Or I have the capability to do this, rather than I have nothing, or I only have this tiny little bit, and to be able to do the thing that you're asking me to do, I'm going to need a whole lot of God here, because...
Yes. And I think that for me is where Esther was at.
Exactly.
She could have waited until she was allowed to see the king and mentioned it again. And if by then it was too late, well, so be it. but she knew she was breaking the rules.
Yeah.
She was going into a place where the worst case scenario, she's going to be killed.
Yeah.
Just to be able to tell him again, this is going on.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing. So it's the bigger things that really cost us that makes me go, I can't do this.
Yeah.
That's where we need God's strength and his courage.
Yeah.
To keep moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah, so we encourage you guys to ask God for courage, because we know that he gives us what we need and he provides for us. And
Exactly.
he knows what he's asking you to do, and he'll give you what you need for that. So ask God for the courage you need.
There you go. Let's become more like Esther.
Yes.
Right. We will see you next week.
See you next week.